Light okay? Okay. Get out. Let me get down there. It is September 18th. We're here in Naples, Florida at the headquarters of the Naples Daily News for the editorial review board. To be honest, I think the possibility of getting a long shot from the Naples Daily News is, or getting an endorsement from the Naples Daily News is a long shot. As you can tell from that last sentence, I'm extremely tired. I worked last night. I basically had no sleep. It's Ramadan. I have no food, no drink, and virtually no preparations, so I can't imagine what will go wrong here. One of the things that I want to do here is not only do I want to do the editorial review, but I would also hopefully like to have the opportunity to talk to them about their feelings on the role of the press and the media in the election process. So let's go have fun, be honest, and see what comes of this. Hopefully we'll get some good footage.
Okay.
Hi, I'm
Okay.
Jeff George. I'm here for the candidate review board.
Oh, okay.
With
Jeff Little and Lytle.
Okay.
Yes.
I would just need you to sign in here.
Sure.
Just need to get your badge too.
Okay. Go ahead. Since this is Damien. He's my cameraman.
Did we
remember
talk about this?
Yes, we did. You said
Okay.
that there would be no problem. Video
Well then,
taping
Damien,
everything.
come on up and join us. Right that way.
Oh, thank you. This is actually the first time I've been to your office.
Well, the next time you come to visit us, we'll be in a different place.
That's what I hear. Moving out to Amotley Road.
Yeah, you probably drove past it on the way in.
It's kind of nice having this central location, though, isn't it?
Actually, that's central now. This isn't central anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's kind of the same thing that's happening in Fort Myers.
Yeah, everything shifts.
Yeah.
Now, you'll be putting this on your website, right?
Yes. Actually, what we'll do is we'll put the entire unedited video up on Google, and then we will also probably put a quick edited version.
Okay.
To YouTube
Or
as
it
well.
can be changed with corporate.
Never a dull
Are we
moment.
going to be on camera?
Yes, we are. Gentlemen, this is Jeff George,
Chris Silk, it's nice to
Nice to
meet
meet
you.
you.
sir.
Nice to meet you, Brent.
and he brought a cameraman with him to videotape.
You're,
and put it on his website. And
So
I
we
told him
need to
that
figure
would
out lighting, I guess.
We can
No,
just go
that's-
to the
he
natural
does.
light is fine. Just go ahead and set up there so that window's at
your
your back.
seat is right there.
My seat is right there?
Yeah.
Could we maybe shift it to this side of the table?
Well, actually,
or-
that is the traditional seat of honor at this.
Okay,
head of the
we can
table.
do that. That'll work too. It's just because I'm going to be right in front of the window here. So can we maybe just pull the blinds back here?
Sure.
Okay. This is the joy of the way that we're doing this campaign. I get to simultaneously be the candidate and producer as well. So
I knew about this in advance.
Okay, that's fine.
don't worry, this goes out. This is basically just going out on YouTube and Google Video, and
Jeff,
I'm so used to
I'm not worried.
looking terrible.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried. I'm glad to set your mind at ease. Well, listen, welcome.
Thank you.
As I mentioned on the phone, setting this up, we have a few ground rules, and let me recap them for you. One, with a 30-minute time limit, so all the candidates know they get the same amount of time. And the other one is, well, this sort of makes it moot, though. We're on the record. Anything we talk about is eligible for publication. Don't tell us anything that you someday wouldn't want to see in the newspaper.
Okay.
Okay. Did you bring any written material for us?
Yes, we did. I brought you, these are our standard campaign flyers that are going out. Also, I'm going to give you some cards here.
So we'd like to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready as soon as you are.
Great, we're ready to go. The way we normally start these sessions off is we invite our guests to tell us just a little bit about your background and why you're running at this time for this office. We'll take it from there. 30 minutes tends to fly.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. I've lived in this area since I was 4 years old. My family moved here from Ohio. I grew up in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. Right after high school, I went into the Army. I was in the Army for 5 years. I was an electronic intelligence analyst. This was between 87 and 92. I was in Germany during the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Really?
My first enlistment was a 3-year enlistment, and it ended on July 29th, 1990. I got out, and 2 days later, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. So I volunteered to go back into the Army for another 4 years. And of course, the Army being the Army, since I volunteered, they actually sent me to Korea instead of to the Gulf.
So you were 87 to 92, and then you were back from 90 to 94?
Well, actually, I was in from 87 to 90, and then from 90 to 92. I only stayed in another 2 years.
87 to 90, 90 to 92.
Yes.
Jeff, I want you to meet Harriet Heitholtz.
Hi, Harriet.
Hi,
Nice
Jeff.
to meet you.
Harriet, he's taping for his website.
Should I sit back there? Don't you want to sit here then?
Everything's good.
This is fine. This is fine. There's plenty of footage of me, so
Okay.
if he gets my bad side, I'm used to it.
We interrupted you.
After the Army, I took a little time off. I traveled around the Mediterranean for a while. Basically, went down from Rome down to Israel and Jerusalem around the Mediterranean. After that, I came back and I took my military experience and combined it. I went to the vocational high-tech North, and I ended up working in a wireless company here in Naples. It was a company called Air Data Wyman Systems. Air Data Wyman Systems.
Did you say Wyman?
WIMAN. Stood for Wireless Metropolitan Area Network. Yeah, it's on the brochure. I worked for them for 3 years, and like I said, they were based here in Naples. I actually lived in Naples for 2 years. That was in the late 90s, and that was a really interesting time to be in the wireless internet business because that was during the dot-com boom, and it was the Air Data Wyman Systems was actually a very well-established company in Germany, small company, about 150 employees. They had some military contracts, and they did a few commercial things.
What did they do?
It was actually several small companies together. Air Data Wyman Systems, it was a wireless last mile solution. This was in the late 90s when everyone was trying to figure out how we were going to go the last mile from the ISP to the customer's house. And of course, eventually DSL and cable kind of won that out. But at the time, it was kind of a wide open frontier. And we had a wireless system that was originally designed for the German military. We ended up deploying it here. They came here and they opened up the corporation was actually, they turned it into a Delaware corporation, and it was based out of the U.S. And they opened up a U.S. office here, and I was actually the first American employee that they hired. And I went from being a field tech to the director of U.S. operations to quitting and then trying to get fired and none of that taking and ending up becoming the assistant to the CEO for the last year that I was there. And it was a very interesting experience because what we were doing is we were setting up networks all over all over North America. We went to South America. We set up networks in Haiti, in Africa, of course, all over Europe, which is where their primary business was. And that was on top of all the travel experience that I had in the military, Germany, Korea. During that time, I traveled Europe and Asia as well.
What eventually happened to the company?
I left in '99, and how I left was actually kind of interesting. And this is something, one of the things that you can see from this camera is I don't believe in the BS political thing of trying to cover up your past or trying to whitewash everything. What we're trying to do here with this campaign is we're sort of an experiment in democracy. We want to see if we can present if we can present myself, if I can present myself and we can present this campaign in the most honest terms possible, if we can have 100% transparency, integrity, and accountability, and we want to see how that goes over. And I bring that up because the story of I actually got fired from the company. And the reason I got fired from the company was ostensibly it was because I wrote a personal email on the company thing that I was being rhetorical, and I said some ridiculous things. In the email, I said that I was the Messiah and a couple of other things, and it was just kind of an ongoing debate. Well, they got that, but what had happened is the day before that I got fired, the CEO had asked me to put together a plan for where I thought the company should go. And I was kind of the lone voice. I saw that wireless wasn't going to do it, and so I basically said, you know, our major clients are going to be in the developing world, not in Europe and the U.S., which is where everybody's pet projects were. And at the time, we were working with MCI WorldCom. It was UUNet at the time. Later on became MCI WorldCom. We were working with PSINet. We were working with all of the companies that we later know what happened to. And so I gave him a 10-step plan, and out of those 10 steps, probably every one of those steps stepped on another vice president's pet project or something like that. I gave it to him, and I got fired the next day because of the email. It was the reason that they said I got fired. But what's interesting, to answer your question, is the company actually survived for several years after the dot-com bust, and they were sold to a larger telecom company. And I think a large part of the reason that they survived is because of those 10 steps I suggested. After I got fired, they implemented 9 out of 10 of those steps and shifted their business model from North America and Europe to Africa and the developing world. And I think that's really what kept them in the game.
You've told us what you're doing now.
Right now, I have a small video production company, very small. It's called Daylight Moon Productions.
Is this it?
Yes, this is basically it. This and what's in my camera bag down in my car, that's essentially the company.
Okay.
But our initial project, I did a documentary in 2004 in Syria called Islam Seekers of Knowledge, which was about at the time, the Grand Mufti of Syria, who died while I was there. I myself am a Muslim. I officially became a Muslim in 2003 after probably about 10 years of study. After the events of 9/11, I sort of found myself in a position where I was much more knowledgeable about Islam than a lot of the people around me. And I sort of gravitated towards working every day with the Muslim community here in Southwest Florida.
What is it about this job that attracted you as opposed to another position? Why this position at this time?
I mean, instead of running for mosquito control first or starting smaller?
Oh no, I was thinking why this and not the senator?
Well, first of all, there's no Senate race this year, so who knows?
You're right.
I would have. What I looked at essentially is, you know, the big problem that we have is I think there's a real disconnect between everyday citizens and their representation in the government, particularly the federal government. And as I started to look into this more and more, I realized that disconnect doesn't exist in as nearly an extreme form in local government or even in state government. So we really wanted to go where this type of approach would be the best. And the second thing is in terms of my personal experience and what I bring to the table, I think that I've always been my focus has always been sharper on the national issues, particularly on foreign policy issues. And I wanted to bring that experience to bear in the process.
Why do you think there's a disconnect at the federal level and not the state and local? Is it just geography?
It's a lot of things, and this is, you know, really what we're in the process. We've been in the process of finding out over the last year. We started doing this in November, and I think geography plays a small part in it. But by and large, the biggest issue that we've discovered is the feedback loop of campaign money into media coverage, which goes back into more campaign money, which goes to more media coverage. And I think this is really, this is the big issue, as we have an incredibly corrupt campaign finance system at this point in time. And it exists, at least I believe that it exists largely because what actually happens in the campaign process and what happens in the election process on the federal level goes on largely out of the sight of the people. So what we wanted to do is we thought if we videotaped everything that we did for the sake of the campaign. It was much more ambitious in the beginning. I wanted to basically do 24-hour live feed, but we had some technical problems, and my life's not that interesting.
How are you funding your campaign?
We are subsisting mainly through small donations. I got a couple of decent-sized donations from some family members. As of last quarter, we had raised around $15,000. About $7,000 of that was my own money, and the rest was from donations, from various donations.
How did you qualify for the ballot?
We paid to qualify.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and this is.
How much was it for this?
It was 6,000. I forget the exact 6,618, something around there. It was around 6,500.
Just quickly, you say the campaign process is incredibly corrupt. How would you change it?
Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to shine a light on what's going on there. We need to show people exactly what the process is, and we need to get people more engaged into the day-to-day grind of what politics is all about. I think, it's something that I'd always had sort of an intuition about how integral that money is to the process, but actually going through it firsthand, I understand it much better. And I think when people think politics, they tend to think the presidential races, which are these ungodly amounts of money for a show that's put out for 300,000 people, or they think local politics. They think the small town mayor or the small town city councilor going out and kissing baby and shaking hands, but they don't see by and large what I think is the mainstream of what politics is, which is sort of this mid-level between the presidential level and the small town local level. And so what we want to do, and particularly on the congressional side, is if people understand how much of a congressman's time is spent actually pandering for donations to stay in office, that they might get a better sense of how crucial it is, number one, I think, to have public financing. And number two, I think an important step would be to have, especially for the broadcast networks, to have a mandatory block of time, broadcast time set up for advertising or for debates or something like that. Since they are using public airwaves, they should be required during election year to take a small block of time and at least give it to candidates. And I think another big issue that's the root of a lot of the corruption is the two-party system we have, which is why I'm running with no party affiliation.
Are you registered for either party?
I am actually a registered Green. I worked with the Green Party early on in this decade, but it was never really a particularly good match. If you had to pigeonhole me into some sort of political category, I'd describe myself as a progressive libertarian. And if you want to know what that means, it means on most issues, I'm a libertarian, but when it comes to economics, I think Milton Friedman's full of crap. So,
That sums it up.
I know.
Can you size up can you size up the incumbent and how he has done in office?
Well, I think there's a term that was floating around a couple of years ago that I think very well describes Representative Mack, and that's loyal bushy. If you look at his voting record and you look at how closely he's gone along with the Bush administration, this year everyone's talking about change, and what they mean by change on the federal level is getting away from the Bush model. So I think there's an issue there, but particularly, he is a proponent of the Bush doctrine of preemptive war. He has seems to have very little foreign policy knowledge. On the economic side, he has consistently voted against every bill that's come his way that would give a break to working class people. This year he voted against both of the housing bills, the housing relief bills that just came through. Early on, he voted in support of the bankruptcy supposedly reform bill, which actually made it so much more difficult for people to file bankruptcy. And if you look at where his campaign financing comes from, his largest donor groups are people in the financial industry, people in the insurance industry, people in the real estate industry. And I think this comes back to that issue of corruption. I'm not necessarily accusing Congressman Mack of being more or less corrupt than anybody else in the system, but he is part and parcel of the system that has got us into the situation that we're in today. He is someone who has voted consistently for a lack of regulation and a pro-business agenda, which is exactly at the root of why in Lee County and we have these high vacancy rates. We have these in this district, I should say, we have high vacancy rates. We have record foreclosure rates.